What is going on? This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast. Glad to have you in today. If you are watching me on YouTube, you'll notice I'm wearing my Vince Scully shirt, the ode to the famous, legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster Vince Scully for the Dodgers. I'm also wearing my Dodger hat because I'm recording this on Tuesday night, right after the Dodgers' huge comeback win against the Atlanta Braves. I don't want to temper my expectations here because I know there's a game Wednesday and Thursday, so I got to be careful about my excitement level because these games haven't happened yet. So if it all goes bad, I guess shame on me. If it all goes great, we're hyped. Let's go. So I do want to, of course, I don't want to go too much on the Dodgers here. So I'd rather get to some other things because I don't know what the outcome is going to be for the podcast. But I'm super hyped. Still not sure about Dave Roberts and what his whole deal is with moving guys to positions that they don't normally play. The overmanagement of Julio Urias, the pitcher that won 20 games this year as a starter, and all of a sudden we're going to put him in a high leverage situation in game 2 in the 8th inning in between starts. I don't get it. He's not used to that situation. We have a great bullpen. Why are we forcing starters into high leverage reliever situations? Dave Roberts used to do this with Clayton Kershaw, and it would mess him up, and he would get hit around as a reliever for the most part. So I hope we don't fall into that trap of Dave Roberts loving and trusting guys too much to the point where we have to pitch them every single game in some capacity, bringing starters as relievers. And I don't want to hear about, well, they use an opener, the reliever that starts the game, then Urias can come in the 3rd inning and do his start. That's a lot different, giving Urias innings to work with. And if he struggles in his 1st inning, then we have then we have time to come back in the game. If you put him in the 8th inning, he doesn't have time to settle in as a starter. There's a different mentality as a reliever versus a starter. As a starter, it's a stamina endurance game. You need to give the club 6-7 innings, hopefully, as a starter. As a reliever, you might get one, maybe now the rule is 3 hitters. You got 1 inning to blow the doors off. Starters aren't used to that. And I know Urias did it in the playoffs last year, but he didn't throw like he did this year and win 20 games and be a full-time starter this year. So don't want to go too much into that, but got to give you a little bit because I hate the overmanagement of baseball. It just bothers me. But anyways, hopefully Dave Roberts doesn't do that the rest of the series, and hopefully the Dodgers win the World Series and we can all be happy about it. But excuse me. Anyways, I did want to get to something big that happened. Speaking of Major League Baseball, a ruling finally came down, and I don't know if you guys have seen my videos I've done on social media about this. Check me out at Too Tall Sports Podcast. I did some videos recently about this. Major League Baseball has finally approved to pay for housing for minor league players during the season. I know it might not seem like much to those of you on the outside that don't understand the struggle of minor league baseball. But if you do know me and you know my story, and any minor leaguer story for that matter, we get paid. And I say I retired in 2014, but it was even worse then. We get paid less than minimum wage to be a professional athlete and only get paid that less than minimum wage during the 6-month season. 6 months out of the other part of the year, we are not getting paid by Major League Baseball. So that's why guys get jobs in the offseason. That's why you see dudes living in their car and driving Uber in the offseason. These are professional athletes that are struggling to get by. And there's so many levels to get through because baseball is ridiculous and they make you climb all these ladders to get up to the big leagues. And they sell you on the idea that you're going to you'll make your money in the big leagues. Well, yeah. What is it? 10% of the 2% actually make it that are actually from high school and college into the minors that actually get through the system all the way through to the big leagues. Most guys don't make it. So finally, Major League Baseball said, okay, we will pay for housing for the players. Now, mind you, this doesn't fix the pay, okay? I saw some numbers on this on Twitter. A guy in AAA who hasn't had any big league experience yet or gotten called up yet is making $14,000 a year playing professional baseball in AAA, which is the highest level of the minors before getting up to the majors. You've made it through all the shit to get up to AAA, one call away from the big leagues, and you're making $14,000 a year. I don't get that. How can you treat your organizational players like that? And you expect them to perform every night when you're feeding them like crap in crap hotels, bus trips all around the country, and flying all over the place, 6 a.m. flights all the time. And a lot of people, I know there's some people out there, I know they're out there. They might say, oh, you're bitching. You used to be an athlete. and you get to play a game for a living. Well, guess what? How happy would you be playing a game for a living with no job security? You don't know if you're going to make a team the following year. You have no allegiance. That team has no allegiance to you every single year. You could get cut at any time, traded, released, sent down anytime. And you're making less than minimum wage, but you got to spend 10 plus hours a day at the field during the season. Barely any days off. You signing up for that with no guarantees of making it to the big leagues? Highly unlikely that you'll make it. There's no upside. So take care of your guys. And especially if you want them to perform better at the big league level, once you call them up, you need to pay them better and treat them better and feed them better. So this is a start. And I don't know if you guys listened, it might've been still in season 1, could be season 2, but I had, I forgot his name. Jeremy Wolf on. Jeremy Wolf I had on. He works with More Than Baseball. And they are one of those organizations. There's another one called Advocates for Minor Leaguers, but More Than Baseball is all about taking care of minor leaguers that are struggling to make it in life. And this is a start. And these are where these organizations are starting to go. And this is a start to getting minor leaguers better accommodations, better pay, better everything. So it was finally ruled upon that Major League Baseball is going to pay for housing. It's forcing the clubs to pay for housing. There's so much money in the big leagues. I mean, it's ungodly, so much money in the big leagues, and there's no money in the minors. The only time you make decent money is, like I mentioned, guys that have gotten called up at least for a little bit, and they go back down to the minors. Now your pay scale goes up because you have Major League service time. So you get paid on a higher number because you have Major League service time, depending on how many days you were up there. But even if you go up for one day on the roster during a big league season, your pay goes up by a lot. And now you're making 70, 80 grand, which is exactly what these guys should be making in AAA. Remember, we're not talking about rookie ball. We're talking about AAA, guys that are close to the big leagues. They should be making 70 to 80 grand at that level of baseball. I mean, these are some of the best players in the world, and you're paying them peanuts. I didn't even mention the lower level minor league guys. They're making less than 12, maybe 10 grand a year that are with a mountain to climb to get to the big league. So if you can tell I'm passionate about this, I am, because baseball is so slow to react. It took them so long to figure this out. You should be paying for guys housing when you're paying them less than minimum wage to play baseball for a living, and you're not paying them anything in the offseason. But you're expected to show up ready to go in spring training. So you have to spend your off-season training, and you can't just show up out of shape to spring training and expect to make a team. It's a year-round gig now. So happy to see that. It's a start. It's definitely in the right direction. Hopefully baseball can move a little quicker, because as you know, with the 4 major sports, they're the slowest to move on everything, whether it's replay, whether it's umpire help, or referees in other leagues and stuff like that. Baseball is the slowest to move because it's a traditional purist sport. Some of it I like, that's traditional. Other parts of it, we got to get with the times here. Okay. We got to get with the times. Anyways, that's my 2 cents today. I had so much more to talk about, but I decided to go off on that. A lot of football takes, but anyway, yeah, other than that, Arizona Cardinals look great. Kansas City's back on track. We'll see what happens with them. Cowboys look really good. Dak's a little banged up, I think, but they get a bye this week. So Chargers took a step back. Tough game at Baltimore. East Coast game. West Coast team traveling to play a 10 a.m. West Coast time game. Really, it's 1 over there. Their bodies aren't ready. Their clock's not there yet. So anyway, tough game for the Chargers. Rams get back on track. So good football weekend. Of course, college football. Purdue beats Iowa. So now the top 4 is all messed up again. Alabama's in the top 4. Anyway, lots to talk about there. I'll be making videos all week on my social media at Too Tall Sports Podcast. Follow me there. My interview today is with Chris Caulk. He is a former walk-on wide receiver at USC, and we talk a lot about Clay Helton and all that stuff that went down, who he thinks should come in to coach the team now, what it was like to be a player at SC and go there. And he had a crazy story of his high school injuries and junior college injuries, but he still made it on to USC. Didn't actually play there, but he was a walk-on. So cool episode with Chris, and a very inspirational story. So I think it's worth listening to. But anyways, after this word from our sponsor, you will get my interview with Chris Caulk. I'll see you on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, football is back, NFL and college, and all of your NBA and NHL and playoff baseball needs over the next few months. And the Too Tall Sports Podcast is proudly brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Use my promo code TOOTALL to get 25% off all of their texting packages. So what that means is they're going to text you right before a slate of games will start. Let's say for football Sunday, the games usually start, the first round starts at 10 a.m. They'll text you at about 9:50, 9:55. You got to be ready on your computer, on your app, wherever you bet your games, whichever sports book or sporting bets website you use your own. This is just a service that's going to text you their top picks based on the algorithm that they have set up. They wait till all the big sharp money comes in, and then they give you their best bet or two right before the games start at different times of the day. So they do text you the picks. You take care of them on your own and bet however much you want. They usually recommend 1 or 2 units of your normal, $50, $100, whatever you like to bet. Use your own judgment on that. However, VegasSportsAdvantage.com, use my promo code TOOTALL, that's TOOTALL, for 25% off all of the packages that they give you. They'll text you the picks. You get a certain number of picks, and then it'll run out, and you can use my promo code again if you want to. But 25% off. They're awesome. I use them. I make money off them all the time. I use my own sports book that I've chosen to put my bets on. But Vegas Sports Advantage is legit. They use their algorithms. Check them out. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Promo code TOOTALL. Welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My guest today for the interview is Chris Caulk. He is a former walk-on at USC as a wide receiver in the football program. We talk about his incredible journey going from baseball player in high school to trying to play 1 year of football, gets hurt again in junior college, but finally made his journey all the way to become a D1 football player at USC. So we talk all about that. Plus, Clay Helton obviously recently got fired. He was in the program a few years ago with Clay Helton. We talk about the state of USC, what it was like to play for Coach Helton, and what SC needs to do moving forward to get this program back on track. We talk about some of the quarterbacks that were there with him. So it's a cool episode. Little too much USC football for me. No, just kidding. But I did like the talking about the state of USC football compared to other programs around the country. So that's my interview today with Chris Caulk. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. That's where I post videos, all kinds of new content there, clips from every episode. So I like to post there. So check out my Instagram at Too Tall Sports Podcast. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. You can follow me there. I like to post a little bit there too. If you can head over to our YouTube channel, that would help us greatly. If you could subscribe, hit the bell notification. Every Thursday morning, we drop episodes 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube. For audio, we drop the episodes around 5 a.m., maybe sometimes 6 a.m. on Thursday mornings every week. And you can listen to those on the audio side on Apple Podcasts. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. If you could, I always remind you guys, if you haven't already, please scroll down all the way to the bottom of my Apple page, Too Tall Sports Podcast. Hit those 5 stars. Really helps with this exposure and helping the show grow. Leave a review if you could too. That'd be great just to help boost the show. But at least hit the 5 stars to help the ratings. That would be really cool. Thank you very much for that. We're also on Spotify. You can check us out there. We're on Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're there. So check out Too Tall Sports Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And with that, I will give you my interview with Chris Caulk. Too Tall.
We had a pond.
Going crazy.
All right, welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest is a former walk-on at USC as a football player. He has an incredibly inspirational story about injuries and adversity to push through to reach his dream of ultimately becoming a Division I college football player. He's originally from San Diego, and we recently connected on social media, and I'm happy to have him on to share his story. He is Chris Caulk. What's going on, Chris? Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Brett. I'm looking forward to having this interview with you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Glad to have you on. Obviously, we'll talk about the USC stuff in a little bit, but I did want to take it back so we can get your story on kind of how we got here from the beginning. You're originally from San Diego, which I mentioned off the top. As far as baseball goes, because you were actually a baseball player to begin. So what do you remember about the early years of playing baseball before football was even in the picture?
Dude, baseball I still look back at, and my brother is playing baseball, and he's actually like a very high expectations for him. He's a pitcher, and I look back on baseball, and I still love baseball. Like, it's still an amazing sport. When people ask me, hey, which sport should my kid play, baseball or football, I will always say baseball.
Yeah.
at least until they're older. Baseball is a very awesome sport. And, translation from shagging and tracking down fly balls in the outfield of running routes and catching balls 40, 50 yards down the field, there's a correspondence between the two, and I love that.
Right. Now, what position did you play in baseball?
I started out as like a first baseman.
Okay.
I was first base. I was like taller than most of the other kids I played with, and I always had good hand-eye. And then for some reason, I just wanted to go play out. I think actually, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, my favorite player was Matt Kemp back in the day.
Okay.
And
right when Dodger.
right when I became a Dodger fan, I was a Matt Kemp guy. I loved Matt Kemp. Modeled my stance after the guy, and then he played center field. So I was like, you know what? I can play center field too. So, and then I actually got really good at it. And then that's the position that I played up until I was done.
And because you're from San Diego, I have to ask, now that the Padres are actually, well, they're not good at the moment, but they are on the way up for sure with all the talent they have. So did you grow up a Padre fan, or you actually were Dodgers?
I grew up a Padre fan until I was about 5th grade.
Okay.
And then San Diego sports are very interesting because it's almost like the fans almost don't want them to do well because it gives them something to complain about.
Right.
Like it's like, oh yeah, Norv Turner made this 4th down call again, or oh, Phillip Rivers can barely throw the ball, or like, oh, here come the Padres last in the NL West every year. It's like it gives them something to complain about. But I think that they're cool. I think the Padres are kind of hype. I'm be honest with you, and like as a Dodger fan, they're cool to watch. I like the piece. I thought Machado's got some swag, even though he was a Dodger and then went to the Padres. I mean, I think playing ball in San Diego would be really, really cool if you're a pro baseball player.
I agree. It's probably one of the best places you could play for sure with everything around there. It's not too big of a city, but big enough. Like it's got everything. And there's a lot of talent. Too. Yeah. And there's a lot of talent from San Diego. Lots of dudes in baseball and football have made it out of San Diego. They just don't keep them. So San Diego
for sure. For sure.
Let's move on to so when did you start considering that you were going to be a football player? Like, how did it go from baseball to football in high school?
So when I was a junior in high school, I got cut by the varsity baseball team, and I really just became like, shit, I can't be done with organized sports. But my original intention was to get into the gym, start working out so hard, getting so nasty at baseball if the team couldn't say no to me next year.
Sure.
So I came back with that mindset, and about a week or two later, I saw the football team guys coming in from spring practice, and I thought to myself, like, they're not like, if I worked hard enough, I could be better than these kids. So, and then it just became a situation where I emailed the football coach in my high school, told him like, hey, I want to play football, and he said, all right, come meet with me. And then once we did that, rest is history.
And how did you even know what position you could play? Like, did you even have a fit, or you're just like, I want to play football and put me on the field, I'll figure it out?
I hadn't played. Oh, it's a little bit of both. So I had always had, like I said, really good hand-eye. And my dad was always throwing me long passes, like over the shoulder balls when I was 3-4 years old.
Right.
I loved catching passes. I always did. And I would say that receiver was just the most natural fit for me. I could move a little bit and I had good hands. So it worked out there. But I played organized flag football in middle school. So, and I was just playing receiver and defensive end, but I always loved playing receiver. So I was like, hey, look, I emailed him. I told him, hey, coach, I can play receiver. I can play safety. I can play this. I can do whatever, just give me a shot. And that's all it took.
And so that was your going into your senior year. So you only had 1 year of high school left and you decide to go all in on football. That's when kind of adversity hits for the first time for you. So tell us what happened, like leading, or, I guess it was summer going into your first game in the fall.
Yeah, for sure. So that summer was pretty fun. It was just summer workouts, you're getting good. You win a couple reps, and next thing you know, you're competing every play, and it's a lot of fun. And then about 2-3 weeks after fall camp finished, maybe it was the week after, I got into my first scrimmage as a high school football player. I had such a blast. I was getting reps at defensive end. They put me there. It was all sorts of fun, running all routes. And then in these scrimmages, you play you do series against one school, then you play another school. So it's like they have 3 teams there. And I just remember running at the very end of the game, probably 20 minutes left in the whole scrimmage. I just remember running this deep post route. I remember going off, trying to hit this kid, and then the other tight end was about to get tackled. So I remember trying to run up and hit this kid. Next thing you know, I'm locking up, and boom, ACL goes. First game.
Damn.
First game.
Yeah, you didn't even get to play a regular season game.
Nope. Not until I mean, I suited up for the senior night game, but then
Sure.
like that was just, whatever.
Wow. So, and I remember I listened to another interview that you were on about like your goal was still to play Division I football at that point. So,
Yeah.
and you haven't even played a high school football game yet. Like the odds are not in your favor, as they say, right? So
0%
exactly, right. So how, like, because I remember you said like you had a bunch of doubters, and mentally, how did you even still have I've never played high school football before. How am I going to get to D1 at this point? This
is a multifaceted kind of answer, and I don't want to be long-winded, but
Sure.
It might take a sec.
Go ahead.
So I didn't get super duper clear on wanting to play at SC like 1,000%, like was going to abandon everything and just get there until I got off the operating table after my first surgery. But it was always just a matter of, okay, I think I can do it. And the strangest part is, man, like, I don't know if this is because I found my face to this journey too. I don't know if it's like a God thing, but I never had a doubt. I never had a doubt in the entire time, no matter how far behind the 8 ball I was. But it's so weird to think, because it's one of those deals where it's such a I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's one of those deals where you just can't know, but there's something greater at the other side. You know what I mean? It's no matter how much doubt, no matter how much flack you catch, like you got to stick to your hand and go after what you want, no matter how much you're going to get hated on for it.
Right. And I remember, I think you said you had like even guys on your team were like, there's no way you're going to be able to make it, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that had to be tough for you.
I mean, especially at that point where a lot of stuff kind of was going on outside of school, family stuff, and you think that football brotherhood, people think that they're synonymous. And I've said this before, and I'm not like trying to rain on anyone's parade, but I think the whole aspect of brotherhood, at least as far as sports are concerned, can be true, but it's also one of the biggest farces in society, in my opinion. Because at least I'm like, look, we're all products of our experiences, and my experience has showed me this path. And I don't mean to be like dark about it, but like the guys who you think you're close with and don't necessarily share that sentiment back sometimes.
And there's that old saying, like, people want you to do well, but not better than them.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So from there, you had your first surgery, you tore your ACL, and then I believe you tore your meniscus at some point after that, right? When was that?
I tore my meniscus. I don't know. I'm not sorry about that. I'm still not completely sure about like the timeline of it, because I think I remember seeing ACL meniscus in the first MRI readout, which is like back when it originally happened. But I had so many situations where I was either running routes or exercising or even golfing, man. Like I remember just hearing like in my knee like 4 or 5 different times. I'm pretty sure I dislocated my knee at one point. I'm being honest with you. So if I'm being completely straight, I'm not totally sure as the exact timeline of whether it was a scar tissue that popped one time in my knee, but I do know ACL was definitely gone that first game. And then my senior night game, I think I'm damn sure I tore my meniscus, but like it could have been a few different times where like before it actually completely went.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you decide to go to Santa Monica City College. Now, what was the football situation there for you once you got there out of high school?
I got surgery about 2 weeks before enrolling there. So I and a lot of people have asked me this question. It's like, hey, why don't you play ball at JUCO? It's like, I knew my path. I knew I had to take the time, those 1.5 to 2 years at JUCO. Every moment of it needed to be committed to bridging the physical gap or the mental gap that I needed to get in order to play at SC. So it's like, I could have, when I was healed 100% and cleared, I could have been like, all right, I'm going to go play at PCC or at Mesa and do spring ball at Mesa. But I knew that my time would be better suited developing my route running, developing my strength, all this kind of stuff. So my plan was kind of step forth at Santa Monica, and I knew exactly what I had to do.
Okay. And then you did decide, like you mentioned, going to Pasadena City College and then ended up going to Mesa Junior College. At that point, I mean, you're on your third junior college at that point. Like, what's the thought on, how far away, or did you feel closer to going to SC, or did you consider any other schools at that point?
I've said this a few times, but I got denied by USC 3 times before they said yes to me.
Wow.
Like they said no to me out of high school. They said no to me after my first year. And then I appealed that because I thought I was like, I had a 3.9 coming out of Santa Monica. And I was like, guys, there's no way. I mean, there's obviously there's more to the story there, but I don't really need to go into it.
Sure.
But I appealed it and they said, Chris, apply again later.
So you were trying to get in academically, not even just football wise.
I knew that was gonna be my route, man. Like I still knew it was gonna be my route because like I figured that, you know, I mean, I get into the school, I play that game, you know, and then from there I just go and figure out how I'm gonna walk on. Because they're obviously running parallel, like, you know, trying to get into the football program too. But I knew that academics was gonna be the one that got me in the door.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you get a message from one of the coaches at SC at some point. I believe you were at dinner with your family or something like that. So how'd that all go down when you finally got accepted?
That was the day I got brought onto the team.
Okay.
That was the day I got brought onto the team. So that day, about 4 days before, I tried out, and about a month or two before I got accepted. So it was I think it was like early September. Late August. I tried out on the like last day of August, and the 4th of September, I got this message. And I had been waiting for this message for about 4 days. It was sitting on pins and needles, man. Pins and needles. And I just remember sitting there, and the message was supposed to come the day before. And then I'm sitting there all that next day, and I'm sitting in the drive-through line with my dad and my brother at this Mexican restaurant down in Orange County. Man, I'll tell you what, Brad. I wish I could figure out what that restaurant was.
I'm in Orange County, man. So if you tell me, I'll go.
I'm actually gonna commit to looking for it now. But anyway, so I just remember I was like on my phone. I think it was like Instagram or something like that, and I just remember seeing this when your notifications come down. There's like that little thing, and you see it, and I said, okay, Eric Ziskin, and he was the guy who was at USC at that point. He was a player personnel guy. And he texted me, and then before I could think twice, I touched this text message that I got. I didn't even I couldn't even have some time to react to it. I just knew I'm like immediate. So I look at this message and I said, Chris, we're finally able to connect with coach. A line of dialogue in between, and then I scanned for the results, said we want to welcome you to the team. And I went absolutely bananas, man. I'll tell you what, I got out of the car, I was yelling, I was running up and down the freaking drive-through, getting after it. And I bet the people either working there or ahead of me thought I was freaking losing it. But at the same point, I kind of was. You know, it was a huge, huge, huge accomplishment.
Were you fully healthy when you were trying out? Like, were you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got surgery in 2016. I made the team in 2018.
Okay, got it.
So it was like 24 months, almost like 25 months. So
wow.
It's fairly substantial after I got surgery.
That's a long time to wait. And just with all the injuries you've had and like the constant no's, like how did you mentally stick with that at that point where you're just like why was it so important for you to go to USC? I guess is what I meant.
There were a few reasons for that. For starters, I'd always loved USC. My dad went to USC, and I was dressing up as Matt Leinart for Halloween back when I was like 5 and 6, dude. So it runs really deep. And obviously, like, I found my faith through it. So I found purpose in like the struggles and knowing that there was something. Like I really did not have a doubt the entire time. And I just knew I had no idea how it was going to happen. But this is one that I've only mentioned one other time. Like, the way we started the show, like there were a lot of people who doubted me, and I couldn't let them be right. That was one of the major things too. I mean, there were a lot of no's and there were a lot of adverse situations, you know, but I just knew that if I stuck it out, there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I was going to walk by faith when I couldn't see. So, you know, glory to God for that. And I really am glad I stuck with it, because I did think about going to USD. Obviously I got in there. I mean, like, and my college counselor, man, I'll tell you what, she told me, Chris, I would get realistic about my expectations for USC if I were you. I'll never forget it. Like I was at Pasadena City at that point, and she tells me, it's like, listed out all these other schools I should go to, and I should walk onto this school's football team because they quote unquote suck. Right. Never forget it. So it's like, you can't let people derail you, man. Like, behind every person who's done something significant, you've got stories like that.
And that leads me next to the next thing I want to talk to you about, the mentality of, you mentioned this on another interview, of running your own race. And I like that because you can't, basically, I'll let you explain it, but basically not caring about what other people are doing. Everyone's on their own path kind of thing. So how did you use that mentality of running your own race during that time?
It's not something I became super duper clear on until I look back on my journey. I mean, I think I can't take credit for it. It's a Nipsey Hussle thing. You run the marathon.
Okay.
You know, so it's like and obviously give credit to Nip for that all the time. It's his deal. You know, I just try and let people know that there's so much value in that kind of philosophy, because if you think about it, and there was a time over the last few weeks or few months actually where I've been having to like wait before, and there were extended periods of like unsurety and uncertainty and like being kind of alone and this being fully like taking a step back and having to watch other shit happen before you can insert yourself into a situation. So it was a lot of it was like a psychological kind of like struggle a little bit. I mean, I'm not like a huge mental health kind of person, but like it was one of those things where it didn't become clear to me until I was watching this Nipsey Hussle interview, and it said, talking about the marathon, I always heard about the marathon, I always understood it, but you look to your left, you see this person getting a brand deal or getting accepted to USC or getting accepted to the school or getting this job. And a lot of that kind of stuff can lead to jealousy or, you know, envy or whatever those kind of negative emotions are. I mean, you can use jealousy and envy for your favor as long as you use it correctly, but on a broad brush, like those aren't like favorable emotions for any sort of like psychological progression.
Right.
So what it came clear to me is that you got to recognize that like these people might be running their own race. They might have finished their race already, man. Like they might be like, okay, that's it for them. And these other people, they might be stopping short too. Right. You got to recognize your finish line's farther. Like when you're in the struggle, man, like it's not supposed to be easy.
Right.
It's really not supposed to be easy, because if it would, everyone would freaking do it.
Yeah.
Your race, I mean, your finish line could be miles down the road. These people might be finishing theirs. They might be running a half marathon, but dude, if you're running that full freaking marathon, you just got to play your hand, run your race, and just fucking get after it. That's all
I like it. That's a great message, man. That's awesome. So now that you are at USC at the time, let's talk about that. As far as you were in the program during the Clay Helton era, before we get to him, what was it like just being at USC at like, you're on the team now, you're actually like, USC, before the Rams and Chargers came to LA, or came back for the Rams, but like USC was LA football. So what was that like being on a team with that much attention on it?
It's really, really cool. I don't want to say like, let me put it this way. Like I let it become me in certain senses. Like I'm not proud of that, but like maybe it's more rooted in insecurity at some points, because so many people did doubt me.
I mean, there's a natural arrogance about going to USC, right? Like there just is.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing at one of the top 4 college football programs in college football history, man. Like you're going out to dinner and people are looking at your gear and it's like, damn, that guy plays at SC. Like that's dope, you know. I mean, I have a really amazing girlfriend now, but like you follow girls on Instagram, they follow you back. Like it's that kind of stuff, you know. It's really, really cool, and it's experience like no other. And Clay would always say, "There's no place like SC," and he's 1,000% right.
He is.
There's no place like SC, man. It's like beautiful. You've got the Collie. It's like an experience like no other too.
Yeah.
There are all sorts. I can talk about all sorts of fun experiences.
For sure. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Anything you want to. What about playing at the Coliseum? Just being on the sideline there when it's a home game, it's, you know, sold out, you know, especially if you guys are going good, you know. So what's that like playing at the Coliseum?
I'll tell you what, the Collie is electric when it's going up. It's electric. Like when you get off the buses and you're doing Trojan walk going through the crowd, and you got the security guys on your left and right. You got the police escort pulling you in. Like the beautiful Saturday, you're about to play against like Oregon or Arizona State at a 5 o'clock kickoff on ABC. Like millions of people are watching at home. Like then the crowd starts coming in, and I called myself a pregame All-American because I didn't play a whole lot, but I was always making one-handed snags before the game, like just catching them, and then the music's busting behind you. It's unreal. It's undescribable.
Wow, that's pretty cool, and so much like tradition there as well. So,
and
speaking to that, you got to win at USC, right? That people actually care if you don't win. So, if you could, obviously, Clay Helton just got let go. What was it like playing for him there? He's known, I don't know, you can tell me the truth on this. He's known as just like the nice guy, too much of a player's coach. That's just what they say. I don't know how it is, but how was it for you playing for Clay Helton?
I always will say good things about Clay Helton because he allowed me to make my dream come true.
Yeah.
The buck inevitably starts and stops with him. You know, whether you want to talk about the defense now, not the players, but the coordinator, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you know, you could look at them and be like, all right, that philosophy, air raid, whatever Orlando's running right now, I don't know what it is. I mean, they could be like viewed, you know, like, but at the end of the day, Clay brought them on. So it's extreme ownership in the fullest sense. So
yeah,
I have nothing but good things to say about Clay Helton as a person and as a guy. And I mean, even as a coach too, I appreciate it. I mean, I never felt like there was a disrespect amongst the team towards him because he's like one of the best guys ever. And he really did want the best for us as a football team. But see, you've got to win. You know, it's Rose Bowl and up, dude. Like
right.
You got to win the pack every year.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be, and here's what I'll always say too. When SC's good, Oregon stands no shot. Oregon stands no shot. No one else in the pack does either because everyone in the West Coast is going to want to go to USC.
Right. And as far, yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, Rose Bowl is like the minimum at SC, right? You at least got to get to the Rose Bowl. They're not even in, right. They're not even in the Final Four playoff contention. You know, it's, no. Do you feel like he kind of, I'm guessing, did he lose the locker room kind of thing?
At least as far as the people that I was like around with and in my pod, I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of it was made, I think a lot of the criticism, at least as far as like what they think the team was different. I mean, as if you read these tweets from like SC Psycho and all these guys who are just like right behind the bench just yelling. Like you read it as if like Clay Helton's just this inept head coach. Like it's just not the case. And everybody on the squad loves Coach Helton.
Right.
Like, I mean, you have respect for all your coaches. I mean, they did stuff. I mean, they're obviously good enough to be a head coach or offensive line or receiver coach at USC. So I think a lot of it's made up in a certain sense, might be fabricated, at least as far as like media and stuff's concerned.
Right.
I never felt that disconnect between the locker room and Coach Helton, at least as when I was there.
Okay. I think the big deal was obviously losing recruits to other states. That's a huge problem, especially the LA quarterbacks, right? Like you got these kids from Mater Dei and Bosco. They shouldn't be going to Alabama or Clemson. Like they should be going to SC. So
USC, yeah. That's the thing too. Yeah.
He had a lot of,
I mean, it's got to win.
And he had a lot of losses against ranked teams. You know, he had a lot of wins overall, but he just didn't play well against the ranked teams.
Even like, I don't know. I mean, I've always watched SC since I was like 5 or 6. Or shoot, my dad's picture of me like 4 months old. My dad's reading me the sports page, and USC was on the cover.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, SC's always kind of had like a struggle. They tend to play down too. Like we saw with Oregon State last week. USC does not lose to Oregon State, man. Like. No. Like, are you kidding me? Oregon State's barely Pac-12. Give me a break. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. What do you think as far as the coaching search? Do you have an idea who you think would be a good fit there? Or, you know, what do you think they need to do?
Shit, as much as I hate to say it, like, I think there are pieces at SC that are indispensable right now. I think that there are some really, really, really good coaches there. And that's just speaking from experience.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, aside from those 4 coaches, like, and then some of the staff too, I love the staff like A1 at SC too. There needs to be a real revamp. And that's my honest opinion. Like a lot of I think any real head coach, I mean, obviously Urban's not going to be the guy to come in, but if an Urban type were to be coming in, they'd want to start from scratch. And the reason why I mentioned the couple people in particular, Kerry Colbert being the head receiver coach there, awesome guy, knows exactly what he's talking about, on and off the field too. So I think there are a couple pieces at SC that they can't get rid of. Like, and then the staff, obviously, almost in its entirety, everyone's A1 there. No one F's up their job on the staff. You know, social media doesn't miss, video doesn't miss, clerical, player personnel. Those guys are all A1. But as far as there might need to be some coaching changes as far as like, I can't mention position coaches specifically, but there are some that should go, in my opinion.
Well, the head guy, what's his name? Dante Williams.
I like D.
And he was like supposedly the recruiting guru there.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you could look at the recruiting, group that is hired to be at SC. I don't know exactly what they're referred to,
Sure.
if I'm being completely honest, but he is single-handedly the reason why USC is in a top 10 recruiting class last year, maybe the year before. I don't remember what they were the year before, but last year I think they were top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where USC should live. One of my first meetings before COVID actually was when he got introduced. And he came back with this energy that I hadn't seen before. He's like, we're gonna take back the West. Like SC's like no one's leaving the West Coast. Like people are coming to SC. We're gonna have a boss mindset. We're not gonna be concerned with who's gonna hire us, but who we're gonna hire, man. And I was just fucking charged up after that. I'm like, let's go. I love that. I hadn't heard that energy in a hot minute, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
For sure. I did want to ask you about some of the quarterbacks you played with. So who were the guys which quarterbacks did you have? Because I know they cycled in a lot. So, and which one do you think was the best of the group?
I had my first year was JT starting.
JT Daniels. Yeah.
Yeah. JT. That quarterback room was the scholarship guys were JT, Matt Fink, Jack Sears, and I think that was it. I think those are the three Scully guys. And then obviously you had the other walk-ons like Holden or Scully and all those kind of kids. But my second year is when Keaton came in.
Keaton Slovis, yeah.
Yeah, Slovis, yeah. If you're going to ask me my favorite quarterback out of all of them.
Does that mean who threw it to you the most in warm-ups?
I mean, JT and I were really tight when I was there. Like
Yeah.
his locker was here, my locker was here.
Uh-huh.
So we had classes together and stuff like that. So JT and I were tight. And am I more I don't want to get myself into trouble, but
Of course.
I think JT was so clinical in the series or two that he had before he tore his ACL against Fresno State my second year.
Yeah.
So I thought he was clinical, and you obviously look what he's doing at Georgia right now. What are they, number 2 in the country? They're filthy.
I know. He made the tough call to leave SC because they committed to Slovis, so he made the move.
Made the right decision, I'll say that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, all things being equal, I think JT would have been fucking lethal in that offense with a full season. But, I like Keaton a lot. I think he throws a pretty good ball. I mean, I always like. But if I'm going to give myself some impartiality, I think Jack Sears has thrown the best ball that I ever caught.
Really?
No questions asked. Yeah. That bitch was whistling when it came to me. Like that spiral was so damn tight.
Really? Okay. I didn't look this up, but where is Sears now? Is he still at SC?
No, he went to Boise. I think he transferred and then went to Boise State. I don't remember where he went. Like I haven't talked to Jack in a very, very long time. I mean, him and I never really talked that much either.
Uh-huh.
But he threw the best ball by far.
Wow. Okay.
In my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's what I want to hear is what your opinion is. Okay. So as far as you left the program, I believe last year, or you stopped, I think, or did you graduate? How did it all end there?
So as COVID kind of happened, this kind of opportunity presented itself to me, and I became very much entrenched in this opportunity. And it just became the decision of like, which one can I do? Which one can I not do? And I thought about it. I prayed about it a whole lot. And it just became the situation of where like I had to go with this other one. Like it became, obviously like it's very much paid off now and worked out now. But I mean, it was a very blind decision at that point.
And as far as I know, you can't say too much because it's new, but what kind of opportunity are you talking about here?
I'm in entertainment.
Got it. Okay.
I'm in entertainment, that kind of fun stuff.
I see. Okay. Content creation.
Hollywood shit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. But you're leaving though.
Taxes are better in Florida.
Florida's a long way from Hollywood.
I know, but Beverly Hills, Fort Lauderdale, it's not a bad little dichotomy there.
That's true. All right, cool. Well, that's awesome, man. Looking forward to following your journey. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. It's very inspirational. Where can everybody follow you moving forward on your journey online and everything? You can check my Instagram out. I've been working on that. I also posted some TikTok recently. It actually kind of went viral. It kind of went viral. I mean, it got like 64,000 plays or something like that. It was actually my story to get to SC. And anybody who wants to check me out from you at the Chris Caulk,
TheChrisCaulk on Instagram, Twitter, and not on Snapchat too. I never post on Snapchat, but if you want to add me there, that's where I'm at.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, hey, I'll definitely have to send everybody over there to check you out. But good luck on your new opportunity, and hopefully we'll see you on the big screen.
Yes, you will. Thank you, Brett.
You got it. My thanks to Chris Caulk. Everybody go follow him on his social media and his journey into the entertainment world. So my thanks to him for coming on and sharing all that stuff about USC and his incredible experience and story to get to, from high school football player that didn't even play a real game to USC as a walk-on. So pretty cool story there. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at Too Tall Sports Podcast. I post a lot of videos there. Check me out on Instagram, Too Tall Sports Podcast. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. If you could, and you like to watch the videos and see the interviews on your computer screen, you can go over to YouTube, type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. If you haven't already, I would really love it and appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe and the bell notification just to get notified every time there's an episode that drops in your inbox, which will be Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time. On the audio side, we drop them every Thursday morning at about 5 a.m. So all you early risers can listen to me and my wonderful soothing voice to wake you up every Thursday morning. And we're on Apple Podcasts, so check us out there, Too Tall Sports Podcast. Go over to Apple. If you could, I always remind you guys, please hit the 5 stars if you haven't done so already at the bottom of the episodes page. You'll find it if you just scroll down, if you're listening there. And leave a review. That would help out as well, just to get more exposure for the show. So I'd really appreciate that. You can also listen on Spotify, follow along there. We're updating those just like Apple every Thursday morning. And you can also listen on Google Play, Amazon Music, and Pandora now. So please check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. And I'd love to hear your feedback. Don't be afraid to send me a DM or an email or a message or whatever. Email is tootallsportspodcast@gmail.com. I will see you guys next week for another great episode. Thank you.